Well, some incredible revelations have come out of Senate estimates today that the Greens party room is costing $1.6 million. That's a single room for 11 Greens politicians. Now, we were told just last year that it had cost $886,000. It's already gone up. And joining me now in studio, another person who loves to have a dance, former radio host, Ray Hadley.
Well, you know, I cast my mind back to the late 80s when Senator Bishop and I used to trip the light fantastic at Parramatta Leagues Club when she was an Eels fan. And I just reminded her of that as she was going home.
But honestly, I mean, someone who says, I'm not a cake person, even at a wedding,
Look,
and I won't dance.
Everyone's a cake person. Everyone's a cake person.
I mean, can you get someone more dull, not a cake person? And
no, because I know plenty of people who don't eat cake and don't dance, and I'll get offside with them all. Now, listen, look, if you build anything, whether it's a commercial building, a block of flats or a home, at the end of the day, there's always a variation because you want different colour paint, you want this, you want that, and the builder says, well, hang on, the fixed price was for that, you've done that. But I've never heard of a variation from $886,000 to $1.6 million for not a house, not a block of flats, for one single room. It must be gold leaf everywhere. I mean, how do you spend that much money?
Royal
and of course,
style,
from the party,
Trump style.
Well, they'd hate being associated with Donald Trump, the Greens, but from a party that talks about, you know, spread the wealth. Come on, I mean, honestly, they must have gold taps in the Brasco in the toilet or something. I don't know how you can spend that much money on one room and then have the height and audacity to make out there's not a problem about it. And the government's as culpable as the Greens for allowing it to happen.
Oh, it's just appalling. Now, Ray, you and I have spoken a couple of times about this devastating Taipan helicopter crash from 2023. 4 servicemen were killed. Well, now the loved ones of Lieutenant Maxwell Nugent, Captain Danielle Lyon, Warrant Officer Class 2 Joseph Laycock and Corporal Alex Nags have done an interview and they're demanding justice for their deaths. It's the families of these servicemen. This is what they had to say last night.
I think the truth hasn't been told.
I could have accepted if they died at war. I can't accept negligence.
So, Ray, we're still to see, you know, the inquiry, which is set to be released, but already some of the family members are blaming this high-tech helmet top-out that you've spoken about previously on the show.
Well, I declare an interest because 2 of the people who appeared last night, Dan Nugent and Mariana, are dear friends of my wife and therefore dear friends of mine, and I knew Max as well. My wife knew Max from being a small boy, and I knew him as an adult, a young man who was aspiring to be a pilot. And I gave evidence at the inquiry where we'll see the results come from Margaret McMurdo next year. And the reason I was asked to give evidence at the inquiry, I'd said on air, on radio, that I'd spoken to Max about Top Owl. Top Owl is a visor that goes over the top of the helmet, and instead of having a control panel, you see all this information on the visor. And Max was telling me he'd prefer the old-fashioned night goggles because from time to time when you tilt your head to one side or the other, the Top Owl inverted.
Oh, wow. So he actually told you this
He told me
before.
that in a conversation we had. He didn't make a big deal of it. He said, but I'd rather have the night goggles. And so I said that on air, so I went and gave evidence. I was treated quite well by Margaret Murdo, but counsel for the Army treated me like some sort of imbecile, pretending I'd made this up, and I was quite upset and quite angry at them while giving evidence, as you should be. Ian Wilson, who appeared on the show last night, is perhaps one of the most acclaimed test pilots the Army's ever had. He told them years ago that this Top Owl was faulty, and yet they let these young men go out. Now, it was apparently okay in really good conditions, but that night was a dreadful night off the coast of Queensland. And I'm sure that Margaret Murdo, given her distinguished service as a jurist in Queensland, will come up with the right answers for the family. I went to a charity golf day, a fundraiser for Legacy, and I was in the company of Daniel Lyon, his wife, who appeared last night, obviously Dan and Mariana, and also the family of Joseph Laycock and Alex Nags. I could never put myself in their positions. These are beautiful people who've lost 4 wonderful young men, and the Army and I'm going to use a very coarse expression, if you'll pardon me, is involved in an arse-covering exercise. It's a disgrace. And the Defence Minister, equally disgraceful for his lack of interest in this matter. David Shoebridge, the Green Senator, might have the $1.6 million room, but he has been one of the few people in the federal parliament to actually offer some help and advice to the families. What's happened to these families and these young men is absolutely beyond contempt. And it was illustrated last night by Andrew Probyn, who's done a really good job on this. I was doing stuff with him when I was still on air, and he did an excellent job on that last night on Channel 9 on 60 Minutes.
Well, good on them for doing a deep dive into this issue, and just disgraceful that the Army are more worried about their own publicity and covering themselves and protecting themselves rather than getting to the truth of what happened here. Now, let's turn to the immigration discussion, because we're seeing on the one side, opposition leader Susan Lee, she's saying that the coalition will release the policy by the end of the year. I mean, this is just such a drawn-out process. And then you have Pauline Hanson, who, you know, her support's already increasing, and she was at this anti-immigration rally on the weekend. I think if we've got a clip of Pauline, we might show that. I'm not sure if we do, maybe not.
Under this government, we brought in over 1.5 million people into the country. That's why your housing has increased. That's why your health services are slackened. That's why you have the problems of getting jobs and the problems that we have in Australia. All of it comes from high immigration.
So, Ray, you know, you're seeing Pauline come out on issue after issue with very strong convictions, and then you have the Liberal Party. I'm not saying it should have her positions, but they don't know what they stand for. There's no conviction.
Well, I heard Pricey, my old mate, talk to you previously about what happened with Chris this afternoon and Dan Tehan. They can't bring themselves to say anything about it. Now, we had the announcement by the ministers responsible over the weekend in the Telegraph that, oh, yes, this is going to be really tough. We're going to move forward. There were no numbers. Now, we all know that Anthony Albanese has promised to reduce net immigration. He failed to do so. In fact, September we had a record number of arrivals, not just for this year, forever, a record number of arrivals, and the numbers just grow like topsy. But they refuse to actually get down and dirty and tell us what they're going to do, the opposition. Now, what they said, they're motherhood statements. Now, what we're going to do with these people, we're going to make sure they understand our way of life. What if they lie? I mean, if they go to Victoria, the way of life is a machete in one hand and a cricket bat in the other or something, you know. And then, the other thing is, and university students who come here, they're going to have to learn English. I mean, aren't the lectures in English? Isn't that superfluous? If you come here and you can't speak English, you're going to have a bit of trouble at Sydney Uni or Monash or anywhere else. So, I mean, I've given her time after time after time, I've given her, you know, the benefit of the doubt, Susan Lee. But if she doesn't do something about immigration and energy, which we saw, of course, inflation climbed to 3.8% on the back of Casanova Bowen's energy policies, if she doesn't come out and enunciate sometime in the early new year, after the Christmas break, some really positive news to pitch herself against the government, she'll be like last week's pay. She'll be gone, and it'll be either Angus Taylor or Andrew Hastie leading the party, and hopefully, if one of those take charge, they'll give us some meat to the bone.
I think the difference is she doesn't know what she believes in, what she stands for, and that was part of her pitch to lead the party. But, you know, she wants to have reviews all the time to see what the position should be, whereas both Angus Taylor and Andrew Hastie, they are, in their own ways, conviction politicians. They don't have to have a review to know what they think. They know what they think, and that is what a leader needs. A leader needs that gut instinct to know what a Liberal Party position should be on every issue.
My experience with politicians, particularly leaders who don't know what they stand for, means they don't stand for anything. They stand for nothing. And that's what she stands for at the moment. Absolutely nothing. She's not giving the right of politics any leadership. I mean, and the stuff, you know, that was reported on the weekend, you know, immigration policy. This is what they took to Bowen a couple of weeks ago when he made, you know, all the...
Well, just actually on Chris Bowen, because I thought of you last week when we had the inflation data and it was revealed that our electricity prices increased by 37% in a year. And I thought, Ray, your blood pressure would have risen that day.
Well, it did go up. Because I knew it was coming, but I mean,
37% in a year.
37%, 3.8% inflation. Aspirational Australians can't buy a home. They can't afford anything. The ones that have got it can't afford it because the interest rates are going to stay level for at least another year, they tell us. Another year. On the back of that, when we were predicting about 6 months ago, they were going to continue to fall interest rates for those young people, you know, and other people who are paying mortgages, but it hasn't happened. And the Liberal Party doesn't get it. It's wishy-washy motherhood stuff that doesn't help anyone. Because all they are is Labor light. That's all they are. They're the same party but a little bit different. And don't they understand on the world stage at the moment, people grabbing the attention of the people on the other side of the fence in terms of immigration, energy and a whole range of other things, which Susan Lee and others within the party don't seem to get.
But also just finally, what's also so frustrating is that, you know, despite the fact that our economic situation is terrible, electricity prices increasing by 37% in a year, you have the Albanese government standing up there in question time every day in just denial, claiming everything's going amazingly well.
Well, you know what's missing, and you know it's an age-old expression. There's always been, going back to Wilson tucking others, an attack dog. I mean, what we've got is a pack of chihuahuas.
True. So true.
I mean, honestly, they're poodles.
Yeah.
They're labradoodles.
Yeah.
Where's a bit of gusto?
Yeah. You tell them, Ray. Thank you.
They
Great
don't
to see you
listen.
as always.
See
I
you
know.
next week.
I know.